Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Let us now proceed to our evaluation speech contest. The contest will start with a timed 5 to 7 minute speech, which is referred to as the test speech. Evaluation contestants will then be escorted out of the main virtual room into a breakout room, and they will be given 5 minutes to prepare their evaluation. When the 5 minutes are up, the virtual marshal shall ensure that the contestants will not be able to access their evaluation notes until their time to speak. Contestants will be asked to come back to the main virtual room one at a time. Each contestant will then give a 2 to 3 minute evaluation of the test speech, which will be judged by a panel of judges. Contestants may remain in the room after they have given their evaluations. The contestants and the judges have certified their eligibility. The contest chair and the chief judge have confirmed the eligibility of the contestants and the judges. Mr. Contest Chair, have all the contestants and contest officials been briefed? Are all the contestants present, and are we ready to proceed with the contest?
Yes, Madam Contest Master. Yes to all those questions. Thank you.
Awesome. For the information of everyone, the chief judge for this contest is past international director Elisa Tai. Madam Chief Judge, have all the judges been briefed, and are we ready to proceed with the contest?
Yes, they have been briefed. They are all awake and we are ready to go.
Awesome. In order to allow the judges time to mark their judging forms, we will observe 1 minute of silence after each contestant's speech. Timekeepers, will one of you signal me when 1 minute of silence is up?
Yes.
Thank you. The speaking order for the evaluation speech contest was determined earlier by having our contestants draw for position. The order for the contest will be contestant number 1, Raul de la Vega. Contestant number 2, Annette Tayaw. Contestant number 3, Jan Ace Mendoza. Contestant number 4, Cristito Dao-Anis. Contestant number 5, Leonardo Nogas Jr. Contestant number 6, Sofia Isabel Carino. Contestant number 7, Rongie Abella. Each contestant will be introduced only by his or her name, which I will announce twice. Are there questions from the contestants or our role takers and contest officials? All right, 3, 2, 1. If there are no questions regarding these proceedings, the evaluation speech contest will now begin. Our test speaker is Ruby TUAN. Zootopia. Zootopia, Ruby TUAN.
Can you hear me and see me?
Can hear you and can see you.
Okay, thank you. So group of animals gather together, discussing building up a new home. The meeting host, Mr. Lion, start the meeting. Fellow animals, thank you for coming for the meeting. We are here to discuss building up our new home, and Mr. Otto will be our constructor. To give Mr. Otto a clear blueprint, all of you are welcome to raise out your opinion. And soon, the first animal, hamster, came out and tell what I want. I want a rolling wheel to keep my shape. And the second animal came out and tell what I want. I want a big tree for my back problem. I want a silence and a dark environment. I wish there are some street lights for my latch-home children. Animals raise out a million of questions. And some of the requirements are even totally opposite, which make Mr. Otto feel concerned. But to show the respect to each other, Mr. Otto decided to write down all the requirements and that all animals vote by each animal one vote style. Hamster against this suggestion immediately. There are more members in my family. We still have more voting tickets. And Mrs. Fox thinks, to show the respect to Mr. Lion should have more voting tickets than other animals. And Miss Hippo thinks there's no need to vote. Just follow everyone's requirement to build up a new home. So another round non-stop argument. And the meeting host, Mr. Lion, came out and said, fellow animals, we respect all of your opinion, but we also want to show the family care to all the animals. Thus, I would like to make 2 rules for the discussion. Rule number 1, the thing we want cannot affect your neighbors. Rule number 2, the requirement we raise out must benefit at least one of your neighbors. And all animals seem to agree with these 2 rules. After long discussion, animals finally figured out what their new home looks like for Mr. Otto. They decided to keep one requirement from each animal, but separate their living area into different zones. For example, you will see a lively zone. Lively zone, you will see and hear different sounds, such as the hamster rolling the wheel or the bear tickle his back. In the dark zone, you will see owl and other night animal living there, etc. So everyone is happy living in their new home. They even give a name to their new home, the Zootopia. So some of you might encounter similar situation from time to time, maybe with your colleague, your family members, or even your friends. Everyone has their own opinion and way of thinking. There's nothing wrong to do with that. So how to reach a consensus decision? Communication is the best way. Communication is not to persuade other people. It's about how to understand other people's thoughts, needs, and concern, and then try to get a balance to make each party feel comfortable. So to make an effective communication, we had divided the process into few steps. So first, introduce the issue before discussion. Ensure we are on the same page before go further. And second, set core rules. Those core rules, those are non-breakable and non-deviant. And narrow down discussion within these core rules. And third, open out for discussion. Let all participants voice out what they want before the final decision. And fourth, explore ideas with a broader discussion. So try to ask yourself and each other if the requirements we raise out are really necessary. Is there any space for adjustment? And last, action after decision. After discussion, the issue freely moves on to finding what needs to be done and implement. There's always room for improvement. Nothing is perfect at the first stage. That's why we learn and improve our communication skills. The most important thing is make up understanding, to build up equal a trust and equal environment for all of us. Thank you. Back to MC.
The contestants will now be led to a breakout room for the 5-minute preparation time. Everyone in the main room are required to stay on mute with video cameras turned off during this period. Zoom Master, please let me know when all the contestants are already in the breakout room.
Contest Master, all contestants are in the breakout room.
Thank you so much. All right, at this point, we'd like to, of course, talk to our test speaker or demo speaker. Toastmaster Ruby, good morning, and thank you so much for being our test speaker for today.
Good morning, Contest Master. Share, right? I'm Ruby. Toastmaster come from District 89.
District 89. And Toastmaster Ruby, from what country or what location is District 89?
Thank you for asking that. So District 89 includes multiple cities in China. So Hong Kong, Macau, and some of the cities in mainland China. Basically, it's the south part of China. So I come from Macau, but I'm originally from Taiwan, actually.
Wow, all right. Both very nice countries, Macau and Taiwan as well. And Toastmaster Ruby, how long have you been a Toastmaster?
So this is my 8 years in Toastmasters.
8 years, wow. And so far, what's your most favorite experience in being a Toastmaster for 8 years?
Thank you. So from my relationship with Toastmaster is kind of a little bit complicated. So the fun fact between me and Toastmaster is I'm the second generation of Toastmasters. My mom is Toastmaster in Taiwan, and she just received her DTM 2 years ago. And because my English is not really good and I'm really shy, I'm actually a shy girl actually. so she suggested me to join Toastmaster, meet more people, and to improve myself. So that's the reason. So actually, I know Toastmaster when I was very, very young, but I decided to join Toastmaster after I start my first job. Because I found that there are so many things that I don't know, and I saw there are so many outstanding people. So I really want to learn from them. So I think the first reason I joined Toastmaster was because there are so many outstanding people that I want to learn from them as the motivation of learning. And the second thing is, after a few years, I started my leadership role. I was the VPE, VPPR, SA, and club president, and now I'm the administration manager in District 89. During these years leadership role, I feel that Toastmaster really helps us on our career path, because we learn how to cooperate with other people and to understand how to have effective communication with other people, and how to try to think on the other people's side. So it's also a way to help us have a better work, a better communication, better cooperation with other people. Yeah. So it's a second thing that I received from Toastmasters. Thank you.
Wow, that was really a lot of benefits that you talked about. And I was thinking a while ago, Toastmaster Ruby, that when you said that your experience or maybe whatever it is that you get from Toastmaster is complicated. So I was thinking, okay, so even in Toastmasters, we have hashtag it's complicated, right? So Toastmaster Ruby, is this the first time that you are a test speaker for a contest within District 75 or the Philippines?
Yeah, actually, it's the first time I visit our district club our district Toastmasters contest, or even your meeting. I never visit. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
thank you for having me here.
you have never been to a regular meeting within
No.
District 75. Is that correct? Okay. And how's the experience so far for you being a test speaker for an evaluation speech contest?
Thank you. So one of the reasons I I willing to take this challenge. Some people will think that being a demo speaker is a challenge, but for me, I think it's both. It's how you see the things. It's things got both sides. So for the benefit, is I will receive a lot of feedback from different outstanding speakers, especially it's a district contest, right? So I believe there are so many experienced and outstanding speakers will give me a lot of suggestion to help me improve on my speech. So I think it's a very good experience. For the negative side, I think we are our time's up. It's a bit nervous actually, but nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you again for being our test speaker. And I hope you enjoy the next part because we'll now be hearing from our evaluation speech contestants. Thank you again, Toastmaster Ruby.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we are ready to begin. Zoom Master, please let me know if we already have contestant number 1 back in the main room. All right, I can already see contestant number 1. So contestant number 1, kindly test your audio by saying good morning and ensure that your camera is working.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Can hear you loud and clear. Can you confirm that the timer is pinned or at least visible to you?
One moment, please. Yes, the camera is, the timer, yes, is visible. I see the yellow and green signal. Okay.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 1, Raul de la Vega. Raul de la Vega.
Toastmaster Ruby, anytime I need to understand the virtues of communication, you are the person to let me know. And contest chair, fellow Toastmasters and friends, I'd like to share 3 aspects of Toastmaster Ruby's presentation that show it as a masterpiece of entertainment and information. First, notice how she's able to give a clear story of Zootopia. I particularly like the story of how the animals got together and decide on how to put their home in place. When you're able to give an entertaining story that way, it sets the stage for us to understand the message that the speaker is about to give. Second, the vocal variety, which I got from Toastmaster Ruby. With such vocal variety, it brings the characters to life, thereby making it entertaining and the audience wanting to hear more, setting us up for the message. And third, notice how she gives very important information. I particularly like the 5 steps that you gave on how we could establish communication from the moment we introduce the issue, setting code rules, all the way to action discussion. Terrific way so that we can bring something home and help change our communication skills for the better. Now, Toastmaster Ruby, I'd like to share a couple of tips that you could try. First, I wish that you could have shared your story on how you could have applied these 5 steps. In doing so, it adds to the credibility of your presentation, and people can say, if she did it, we can do it too. So just shorten the story of Zootopia and move on to the one about yourself. Second, as you give your story, remember to position yourself. So you could have center for the lion, one side for the otter, another side for the hamster when they speak. That way, the audience is able to distinguish the characters and they will also be engaged. Fellow Toastmasters, While Toastmaster Ruby's presentation is entertaining and informative, the real power is in us seeing ourselves well represented when we try to communicate. And that is a moment when we can be understood. And by adding a personal story and stage positioning, this power is further exemplified so that those who know what it's like to express an idea with others can see themselves, and they would see themselves understood. Contest chair.
1 minute of silence, please, while the judges mark their ballots. May I ask the virtual marshal to escort the next contestant to the main room? One minute is up. Let us proceed to the next contestant. Contestant number 2, please test your audio by saying good morning and ensure that your camera is working.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Can hear you loud and clear. Can you confirm that the timer is visible to you?
Yes, I can confirm that the timer is visible.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 2, Annette Tayaw. Annette Tayaw.
Good morning, Toastmaster Ruby. Thank you very much for that entertaining speech. I exceptionally love your changing of voices. It definitely kept us engaged. Not that it's only engaging, you also provided such a powerful message about communication. And thank you very much for that. We learned something today. And similar for continuous learning and the Zootopia that you have told us this morning, I hope you would consider my suggestions in crafting your future speeches similar to a zoo or Zootopia. Like a Zootopia or a zoo, you mentioned that there are different areas or exhibits. It is all balanced together to have that complete experience when we are visiting a zoo. So similar to that, I would like to suggest 3 areas or exhibit areas. Number 1 would be the rule of 3 in your content. You have given us a suggestion on how to properly communicate. In fact, I listed 4. Perhaps in your future speeches, you would consider providing 3 examples or 3 key areas so that it will retain more with your audience. The second area would be your organization. Perhaps you would consider placing the situation, giving us a clear picture, followed by the problem, the solution, and remember the rule of 3, wrapping it up with the outcome when they did the solution, and the message. That way, it's cohesive in one bow, similar to a zoo experience, where the flow of people will be able to see the full extent of the zoo. The third and last area would be your delivery. I hope you would consider more movements. Perhaps maximize the stage. Move to your right, move to your left, especially when you were changing the voices. You can face here and then face another to signify the changes also in voices. Toastmaster Ruby, you did a great job in giving us an engaging, powerful speech with a great message. I hope you would consider the rules of 3 when giving out a message, working on the organization, and of course, move more. Back to you, Contest Master.
1 minute of silence, please, while the judges mark their ballots. May I ask the virtual marshal to escort the next contestant to the main room?
Can I be heard? Mic test.
Contestant number 3, we're still in the minute of silence. We'll get back to you in a few seconds.
Apologies.
Up, let us now proceed to the next contestant. Contestant number 3, please test your audio by saying good morning and ensure that your camera is working.
Good morning.
Can hear you loud and clear. Can you confirm that the timer is visible to you?
Yes, crystal clear.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 3, Jan Ace Mendoza. Jan Ace Mendoza.
Toastmaster Ruby, as someone who has had his fair share of challenges in navigating relationship conflicts and cooperation challenges, your speech resonated with me. I loved it. And not just because it resonated with me, but because you have the makings of a great informative storyteller. Now, I felt like you did many things right during that speech, but let me just highlight 2 things that particularly stood out for me. One was your use of role play. By playing different characters throughout the speech, it became much more entertaining and engrossing for us, the audience. Second is that you highlighted lessons. You didn't just tell us an entertaining story. You highlighted lessons for the audience, which made it much more value-adding. Now, I believe that you can take your speech game even further, level it up. So let me offer you some suggestions that you may consider for your next speeches. 3 things. One is to use personal examples. Now, you may consider attaching personal stories or stories from other people to each of the 4 points that we included. By doing so, you can highlight the credibility of your points and give the audience an idea of how they will be able to apply your lessons. For example, for relationship, laying down the ground rules for cooperation, there may be a story from yourself or other people that you know of. Second, visualize your results. Now, if you were able to apply these lessons yourselves, we want to hear more about it. Describe to us how Toastmaster Ruby looks like now that she was able to apply all of these lessons and insert that towards the end of the speech. By doing so, you leave the audience with a lasting impression that, hey, I am living proof that my lessons and pointers work. That's a powerful ending. Thirdly, use data. Now, for each of the 4 points that you raised, you may consider taking a look if there are studies or numerical data that you can attach to them. By doing so, you add much more credibility to your points because data and studies are much more difficult to refute. So 1 is to highlight personal examples. 2, visualize the results. And 3, use data. Overall, Toastmaster Ruby, as you have helped us navigate through the jungles of organizational or cooperation conflicts, you I believe, have the voice to also inspire other people and move people towards change. Continue using that voice in order for you to really be a change maker as you navigate through the jungles of communication. Good afternoon. Toastmasters.
1 minute of silence, please, while the judges mark their ballots. May I ask the virtual marshal to escort the next contestant to the main room? One minute is up. Let us now proceed to the next contestant. Contestant number 4. Please test your audio by saying good morning and ensure that your camera is working.
Good morning.
Can hear you loud and clear. Can you confirm that the timer is visible to you?
Yes, Madam Contest Master.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 4, Cristito Dao-Anis. Cristito Dao-Anis.
Moo! Good morning, fellow thinking animals. This is Mr. Cow, and good morning to our dear kind lioness, Miss Ruby TUAN. Welcome to Zootopia. Thank you for giving us your message. I love it. I enjoyed it. First, I commend you for starting with a story, or people call it fables, the use of stories of animals to introduce your message. And second, your message is so powerful. You gave us a better definition of what communication is, not just to persuade, but rather to balance these things. And part of your message is giving us 5 practical steps to address concerns or conflicts. And I also love, third one, your delivery, overall delivery, your change of voices, using dialogues, and even using glasses to signify the change of character. Also, the excitement, especially when you utter the word Zootopia, right? There were clear signposting as you were giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also an appropriate change in virtual background at the right moment. Ms. Ruby, as you continue to teach more people on how to become better communicators, let me suggest 3 things for your particular speech. Number 1, for your opening, you can consider using animal sounds just like moo. So I started with that. Or you can make use of a question. You can ask us, do we really understand communication? What are the steps that we take when we resolve important concerns? You can start with that and then go on with your story. Second suggestion is a call to action at the end. I find your closing a bit abrupt, and you can have more time for that. And you can say, remember what communication really means. Apply these 5 practical steps. And just like the animals, you can reap the benefits by also being happy in your own homes. So you can have that. And lastly, there was just some sounds that were muffled because of the change in voice for particular animals. But as you go on with practice, then that will be clearer and much better. Overall, Ms. Ruby, we need more communications like you who gave us a better definition of what communication is. And we need communicators like you who will also give us practical things broken down into 5 practical steps. Please continue to share that message to others Continue those suggestions in your opening, in your closing, and on the delivery. Congratulations, and I can't wait for you to inspire more communicators.
One minute of silence, please, while the judges mark their ballots. May I ask the virtual marshal to escort the next contestant to the main room? One minute is up. Let us now proceed to the next contestant. Contestant number 5, please test your audio by saying good morning and ensure that your camera is working.
Hello, good morning.
Can hear you loud and clear. Can you confirm that the timer is visible to you?
No, not. I cannot confirm. May you allow me a few
Yes, please.
seconds? So I cannot pin the timer.
Yes, you cannot pin the timer, but please just check if it's visible to you.
May I just confirm if you're seeing me and I'm lagging? Hindi naman.
No. I mean, you're not lagging.
Wait a sec. I'm having a problem. I think the timer is freezing. Would you allow me to please see the timer at green? See if it's working.
There.
Okay, I cannot see it green. It's still pinned the timer white. Okay, I think better now. Okay.
You can already see the timer, Toastmaster Leo.
Return to white. Okay, copy. I can see it. It's all good now. Thank you so much.
Okay. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 4, Leonardo Nogas Jr. Leonardo Nogas Jr.
Who would have thought that in a world filled with animals, it is still communication that allows them to flourish as a nation? Ladies and gentlemen, contest chair, today we bore witness to Toastmaster Ruby's very successful speech on teaching us why communication is important. Toastmaster Ruby, let me liken my evaluation based on what you just shared, the rules on making a Zootopia. Let's start with the rules that were in place in making your speech such a success. The first rule that I found that really made your speech stand out was how you employ the usage of a parable. The parable was an effective analogy towards your main point on how it was the rules of communication that would make a Zootopia. And as part of the audience, it was easy to follow and easy to find. And I really think it was a really good rule for you, really good commendation. Congratulations for that. The second rule I thought that would stand out was how you signposted your message. When you shared your 5 key points on how to make a Zootopia, you first said first, second, third, and fourth, and fifth. It was easy to follow, leading towards why that was your message. It was very effective, and I commend you for that, Toastmaster Ruby. The thing is, when it comes to speeches, there are rules that are in place to make it stand out. And I believe there are also rules in your place to make it flourish. To make it flourish into a Zootopia, there are still rules that we need to enforce. The first rule that I want to enforce in your speech, Toastmaster Ruby, is an opening statement. Rather than asking your audience directly, am I heard? Try citing a statistic, because studies show that it's the most effective way of starting a speech. For example, a whopping 61% of leaders use the movie Zootopia to teach their people communication skills. That would immediately grab the attention of your audience. The second rule I want to enforce in your speech, Toastmaster Ruby, is the use of props. You were using a lot of characters in your stories, and it may be very hard to distinguish them. If you were adding a lot of props to distinguish each character in the movie, it would be easier to follow. The third rule I want to enforce in your speech, Toastmaster Ruby, is balance. I noticed you made use of story, message, and game. It was a wonderful parable of a story. The message was there, but I was looking for the game, a call to action to bring us up to our knees and get communication in the spotlight. Toastmaster Ruby, your rules that made you stand out was your effective analogy and parables, and also the signposting was amazing. And we have yet to enforce an opening statement, balance, and props. And I'm pretty sure your next speech, Toastmaster Ruby, will be not just a Zootopia, but a utopia of a speech as you win your competition. Contest chair.
1 minute of silence, please, while the judges mark their ballots. May I ask the virtual marshal to escort the next contestant into the main room? One minute is up. Let us now proceed to the next contestant. Contestant number 6. Please test your audio by saying good morning and ensure that your camera is working.
Good morning, everyone.
Can hear you loud and clear. Can you confirm that the timer is visible to you?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 6. Sofia Isabel Carino. Sofia Isabel Carino.
Fellow Toastmasters, contest chair, what we have just witnessed today was a master storyteller at work, DM Ruby. Now, this was furthered by her spectacular use of body language as well as vocal variety. Now, by utilizing different voices and tones, she was able to give characterization to the story that she was telling. For example, when she said, but leader, I think that I should, you see how it drives our imagination wild and furthers the story that she's telling in our minds. Next, she was able to use body language, be it from good eye contact to great use of gestures. She was able to emphasize the different points that she wanted to do by using not too much, not too little, just the right amount of body language. She was able to give impact where impact was due, and I was able to fully see the message that she was trying to convey to us. Moving on to our points for improvement for TM Ruby, I have but 2. First is the proper organization. One thing I noticed throughout her entire speech was there was a lack of distinction between the introduction, the body, as well as the conclusion. Now, what this does is it makes us feel lost, or rather, I was feeling lost throughout her entire speech. As she said her story, I didn't know whether this was already where the message was supposed to be, or whether there was more. To combat this, perhaps Team Ruby could talk about communication first, the lessons, and give us a sneak peek into what her message would be, and then dive into the story and give us the examples and the lessons to be learned, and then the conclusion. Or second, she could try doing the story first, but keep it short and concise to give more body to your lesson and to the communication message that she wants to convey, and then end it with a great, impactful conclusion. Next thing that I noticed was to keep a constant theme. Team Ruby started with the theme or story about the animals. However, I somehow lost it towards the end. To combat this, perhaps she could zero in or full circle back into the introduction. Start with a story about the animals and then end with a story about the animals or the message to be learned from that story to give it a sense of full roundedness. All in all, TM Ruby gave a very imaginative speech, furthered only by the spectacular use of body language, different voices and tones, as well as different body language. Now, if she could only apply the points for improvement, proper organization, as well as keeping a constant theme, TM Ruby, I'm sure you will be well on your way to actively and successfully communicate on your future speeches. Back to you, Contest Chair.
1 minute of silence, please, while the judges mark their ballots. May I ask the virtual marshal to escort the next contestant to the main room? One minute is up. Let us now proceed to the next contestant. Contestant number 7. Can you please test your audio by saying good morning and ensure that your camera is working?
Good morning, everybody.
Can hear you loud and clear. Can you confirm that the timer is visible to you?
Yes, I can see the timer.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 7, Rongie Abella. Rongie Abella.
Everyone has its opinions and needs, but to live harmoniously, effective communication is the key. That's one of the takeaway message that I got that struck me the most while listening to the wonderful speech of Toastmaster Ruby. A wonderful morning to you, Toastmaster Ruby. How are you this morning? Your speech brings me to memory lane when I watched Zootopia 2, in which the movie was about animals living harmoniously and respecting each other. Now, Toastmaster Ruby, allow me to highlight 2 commendations and 2 recommendations that I believe would add value to your speech and to you as a public speaker. First, I noticed that you were mimicking how the animal sounded. I love that part because it added color to your speech and it made it interesting to the audience. Which brings me to your second commendation, which is about the friendly tone of your voice. It's like you were just talking to me in a conversational way. And I felt like we could be a friend and we're going to talk about animals all day long. So Toastmaster Ruby, continue leveraging on these assets in your future speeches. Now, I was already captivated by your speech. And I believe if you can add more animal power to your speech, then we can level it up even better. First, I noticed that there was a point in your speech where you took your eyeglasses. And I also noticed that your eyes were moving from your notes to the camera. So I was a bit distracted that time. So I suggest that you decide beforehand if you're gonna wear eyeglasses or not in your speech. And if you're gonna be doing your notes or not. I recommend that you take away your notes so that we can have an impression that you are ready for the speech. Second, I observe that you continuously saying your lines. I suggest that we have strategic pauses so that we can give more emphasis, especially when you were talking about effective communication already. And also through strategic pauses, you can enunciate your words well. Now, Toastmaster Ruby, the best thing that you have done this morning was you were able to inspire me effectively, especially when you incorporated your mimicking the voice of the animals and also when you have this very friendly tone of your voice. And if you can add more when it comes to strategic pauses and also being ready with your speech, then I believe you can level up your speech even more. And thank you for letting me realize that in order for us to build a good home, we need to respect each other's opinion, and communication is the key. So nurture this drive within you as a public speaker, but most of all, as a storyteller. Congratulations.
May we please have silence until all the judge results have been received. Judges, please communicate with the Chief Judge when you have completed them. Madam Chief Judge, please let me know when all the ballots have been received.